Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kate Marsh Lord. I am the Communications Director at Secure Families Initiative, and I'm here with Rebecca, and we totally forgot that we would probably introduce ourselves at the beginning, so I'm just winging it here. So anyway, here's Rebecca, our interim um, executive director. So let's get started. So first of all, thank you for being here. The election isn't in 1 week; it is right now. Millions of folks have already voted by mail and in person, and we are here today to answer your last minute voting questions. It is so important to be a voter every year, and we'll go ahead and say especially this year. And we want to help to make sure that your vote counts. And while you're here, we also want to acknowledge that today is the first day of National Veterans and Military Families Month, and we can think of no better way to honor our many sacrifices than by exercising our right to vote and making our voices heard on these issues that matter the most to our community. So, in case you needed more motivation to vote, there it is. But Rebecca is going to kick it off first with the question we received a few times.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. Okay, our question is, what do I do if I haven't received my ballot yet? So if you haven't received your requested absentee ballot in time to return it to your state, you can use what's called the federal write-in absentee ballot as a backup ballot to vote for federal offices. The FWAB is a backup ballot for military personnel and overseas citizens who have not received the regular absentee ballot from their state. And then if your official state ballot arrives after sending in the FWAB, you still fill it out and send in the official ballot as well. Your state will only count one. We're going to include a link to the FWAB from the Federal Voting Assistance Program in our comments.
Awesome. And thank you for including that tidbit about filling out the official one if it arrives. I feel like that could get a little stressful. We don't want to be endorsing or committing voter fraud. So it's clear to point out that they will only count one, and you can go ahead and send in the official one. Okay. So here's a question that we got from a military spouse on Facebook. She says, my active duty spouse and I are married in our home state, and we have kept our voting residency in that state. However, the address of permanent residency is a rental home where we were when he joined the military. They've since moved. So she received her ballot, but she's second guessing that maybe she shouldn't use that address anymore because they no longer live or own a home at that address. So this is a common question. Obviously, it would come up a lot for military families, but she is okay to use that ballot and vote. A lot of us maintain our residency back home, even as we move around. Maybe that's where we want to settle down when we leave the military. Maybe we have an economic advantage to being a resident of that state. Whatever the reason, voting is one of the many ways military families can maintain a connection, back to your home, even as we move around. And in fact, as military spouses, we have an added bonus that we may be a resident somewhere, even if we have never lived there. The Military Spouse Residency Relief Act allows the civilian spouse of an active duty service member to claim the state of legal residence as the service member while they both live in another state. So hopefully that makes sense. So as an example, my spouse's residency is in Texas. I've never lived there, but through the Military Spouse Residency Relief Act, I could claim that as my state where I vote if I wanted to. But much like this person who asked the question, I vote in my home state as well. So back to you, Rebecca.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. And I think for me, one of the things that is really just encouraging is that we really, do have choices, right? And I think just reminding folks who are listening in right now that we do have a choice. We do have choices in getting clear about which choice we want to make on as far as where we want to register. Right. And I think so we have another question here we've received a few times. What if I am not registered yet? So if you're not registered yet, it's most likely too late to vote in this election. So I would recommend, if you're thinking about it now, register to vote for next year and just get that out of the way. There are a few exceptions to this, though. If you want to vote where you are currently living and you live in one of the 20 states that offer same-day registration, you can still register to vote. For example, the state of Virginia enacted election day registration in 2020, which went into effect this year, in October of this year, which is really exciting because we know there are a lot of military families living in Virginia, and SFI has a lot of folks who, are within our network. in the Virginia area. So for for those living in Virginia and the 19 other states that allow for same day registration, you need proof of residency. And each of these states have their own protocols for how to register on election day and vote. And so we're going to include the link to this information in the comments. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Kate.
Yeah. But that's another one I love that. And I was surprised when we were researching how to answer that question, that there are so many states where you can register to vote the same day, and vote the same day. So you might not be totally out of luck depending on where you live and if you want to make that the place where you vote. So let's see. The next question is, how do I know what's on my ballot, and how do you know what some of the random ordinances and amendments mean? And this is a great question, because we know that the top of the ballot candidates get a lot of attention, and all the commercials and all these things we hear about on the TV and the news and on social media. But the down ballot and local races can have a big impact on our lives as well, sometimes even a bigger impact. So we have a really cool tool on our website that provides nonpartisan information about every race and ordinance and ballot initiative and all that on your ballot. So you put in your address where you vote, or where you're registered to vote, and it will provide a sample ballot and provides links so you can research each of those things and each of those people a little bit more. So use it while you're at home if you're voting from home, or if you vote in person. Another really cool thing that it will do is create a sample ballot for you. So you can go through, and as you're researching, pick what you want to vote for, who you want to vote for, and if you want to vote yes or no on certain amendments and stuff. And then you can print that out. So you can take it with you to the polls, and then you can zip right through when you go to vote, whether it's early, in person, or on election day. And that's another link that we will include in the comments. So whenever you chime in, all the resources that you need, you'll be able to find them in the comments.
Yeah, and it's actually a really good tool. I was talking to Kate earlier today that I've been sharing that with a few of my family members who are also service members and their families, because it can get confusing, right? Like, we don't sometimes know what's on our ballot until we walk in or until we get our ballot in the mail, right? And I think really thinking ahead so you have time to do your own research and investigate, what you actually want to do on that day. Okay, can I take it away here I think we got a couple more. We received this question last week. So I am a military spouse registered to vote in Connecticut who is currently residing in Hawaii on a military installation. I'm registered to vote in my home state of Connecticut at my family's home. My driver's license is also from the state of Connecticut. My husband's legal residence is in Tennessee. I also pay state income taxes to Arizona last year, and I received my absentee ballot from Connecticut and would like to vote absentee ballot. Is it okay to do this? So this seems like a complicated question. It's actually not, although it seems like it is. And just, first off, I'm very jealous of folks that live in Hawaii. So kudos to you for getting that location. Second, you are absolutely within your right to vote, to mail in that absentee ballot you received for your home state of Connecticut. So Kate said earlier, right, the law is pretty clear about this. And we have additional protections as military spouses who have PCSed with our service members. We can choose to register in our home state, even if that state is different from where our spouse's legal address is, and even if that state is different from where we pay taxes. So it sounds like you did just this. You followed the law. You took, one of the legal choices you were protected to take. So we would recommend just send that ballot right in. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yep. And I mean, that really sounds like pretty much every military spouse I know. I vote in this state. We lived in this state, but then we moved overseas. But now my driver's license, like we have it all. Zip codes, and trying to remember all the zip codes is the hard part. But it's a very typical scenario. So I'm glad we were able to reassure her that she was doing the right thing. Let's see. No. Oh, yes. So here's our last question, unless anyone has one in the comments or we get a message before we're done. But okay, so you received your absentee ballot and you filled it out. Now what? Well, first of all, congratulations. Thank you for making sure you requested a ballot and that you filled it out and returned it. So let this be a reminder. If you are watching and you have your ballot, fill it out and return it as soon as possible. So now, once you've mailed it or taken it to a drop box or returned it however you are able to in your state, we recommend tracking it to make sure that it is accepted and counted. Vote.org ballot tracker tool can connect you to every state. A lot of them, I did this obsessively after I mailed in my ballot to Ohio, and I was so nervous because it took longer than what I thought. So I literally checked multiple times a day. But through that link, it will take you to your home state and all their tracking tools. So no matter where you vote, you should be able to use this tool, and we'll put the link in the comments. And I can tell you from experience how reassuring it is when you see that your ballot has been accepted and counted. So it's definitely worth taking the time to make sure that all your hard work doesn't go uncounted. And then also, the sooner you return your ballot, the sooner you're tracking it, the sooner you can identify a problem if something comes up.
Great. Well, that's all we have today, unless anybody has any additional comments or questions. Thank you all for joining us today. And, just to remind us all that as military spouses and family members, we really do know the firsthand of preserving and protecting our democracy and our free and fair elections. And so from now until Tuesday, November 8th, let us know about your experience voting. So, you go to the polls, you mail in your absentee, tag us on social media, or use the hashtag #MilSpouseVote. And we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.